I was sitting in my office one day and I just got this inclination to write this story. I got a call later from a good friend of mine from Penn State who lived in Boston and said we were on the cover of Rolling Stone. It was kind of like my 15 minutes of fame. It was definitely, and remains to this day, a milestone in my life. It was almost like I was taking my temperature at the time. I was able to sort of capture my feelings, frustrations, and I think there were probably a lot of people who felt the same way that I did. There was a lot of turmoil in society. The Vietnam War was going on. The 60s had spawned a whole era where you didn't have to take it. You could do other things. There were other options. But I think there was still also kind of that frustration that you weren't able to change things quicker, or for some of us, it didn't seem like anything was going to change at all. I think what inspired me to write was probably a combination of anger and disillusionment, I think. The American dream was like you'd get a college degree, you'd get a job, you'd make 10 grand a year, you'd have 2 cars, you'd move to the suburbs and everything like that. And I did feel really trapped. The job I was working, I had a family to take care of, and I wasn't exactly happy with where I was. I had worked for the Reading paper, and then I went up to the Easton Express for a year. Newspapers just didn't pay a lot, and I didn't appreciate at the time how much I really like being a journalist and a reporter. It seemed to me that the right thing to do was to go into PR, to kind of go up the ladder and try and earn more money. And there is that feeling, is this all there is, I had dreams and things like that, but I didn't think some of those things were possible. When I went to high school, there wasn't a lot of encouragement as far as being like a songwriter or an artist or something. It was post-Sputnik, so they wanted you to be an accountant or an engineer or a physicist or something like that. I'd much rather have been a fiction writer. I'd sort of describe myself as a beatnik in college. There was sort of this kind of like this dream about hopping on a motorcycle and going to the West Coast, going to California. But I just felt kind of like trapped. And also I had my family here, and I had like some of my relatives, like my one aunt was very conservative and saying that you have this job, just stay with it and take your lumps or whatever and just grow up, just move on. If I had grown a beard, hopped on a motorcycle and took off for Los Angeles, I don't know. I sort of thought that would kind of launch me onto a writing career, but it didn't work out that way. So I wasn't able to keep that momentum going. It was almost like, it's like an artist who paints a painting and it's just like this greatest piece, everybody raves about it. And then from that point on, you can't do any more. Or you write one novel and it's really good, and then for the rest of your life, you're trying to better that or equal it, and you run out of gas. So for me, in a sense, that's what happened. I think I woke up one day and said, well, I'm going to give it a shot on my own. So what I did is I kind of like cobbled things together. In fact, I have made my living as a writer for the most part. I'm also an artist, which I'm proud of. I'm also a photographer. So in a sense, I did do what I said I wanted to do at the end of the Rolling Stone article. I've compiled like a big fat notebook of sort of things I've done, letters I've gotten from people or projects I've worked on. So sometimes when it's tough, I take a look back at that, and it makes me feel real good because I think I've done a lot of things. I may not be earning a lot of money, but I have a lot of freedom, and I think that's really worth it to me to be able to finally say, well, I don't have to work for somebody. I can use my skills. I can support myself and support my family, and that's a good feeling.